Praise the Lord, my beautiful, blessed souls. I'm coming before you with a video. I wanted to share something. Today is my 10-year anniversary, and basically, we're not together, but I'm going to get into it. Being that this is Holy Week, we all know that, and Christ came and he died as the Lamb to save who? To save what? To save us, his children, his church, his bride. God is the institution of marriage. We may not take it seriously. He created it, and he loves family. He's all for family, and family, marriage, and family go hand in hand. Those are the institutions that God, like I said, created. And he came to redeem his bride. He came to redeem as the head, as the creator, as the, he came to redeem, to save his children and his bride, because he loved them. So not only his bride, but his children. And this is in all of creations and all of what he created. So a part of that is family, marriages, etc. And it just goes to show how the love he has for us. Now, we talked about it in Corinthians, the love, and different things about the different facets of love, and how God loves us compared to how we love each other, and what love means to us here, etc. before. So now I'm going to get into it a little bit of what exactly went on with me and how it goes from being like this. And I have several more photos. And once it goes to being, from a family to being where we are now, which is separated, which is different, and getting into this, it was never nothing that I thought it would be the way that it ended up being. But we're going to get into this so we can kind of unpack what was good, what was not. And it's for those out there who either are married, thinking about getting married, or trying it for the first, second, third time. Because everyone has their own story, their own situation. I'm just going to speak solely from my own. But let's get into it. So right now, I'm going to go to Genesis, because this is where this all started. Genesis 2, 18, I believe. Hold on, let me go. And I'm going to read it because I was into the writing. Let me go. Genesis 2, okay, verse 18, I believe. Wait a minute. Let me go back. Okay, so this is where God was creating everything, right? And when he started, so he created the heavens and earth, he created all of this, and then what happened here? And then there was a break, because he said everything was good, but then he saw that man was alone, and then he said, well, that wasn't good. You see, God knows what he's doing, and when he said that was not good, that was because there was something missing. And everything else he created, he said it was good. But when it came to man, and man being by himself, no, now we had a problem. And that's, God is all about solving problems. He's about, he's the creator, and whenever there's a problem, he's going to solve it. So he within himself said, then the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Now, out of the ground, the Lord God had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to man to see what he would call them. And whatever man called them, every living creature, that was its name. So when all of that was done, there was no helper for Adam. So he caused him to have a great sleep. This is in verse 21. And while he slept, he took one of his ribs, closed it up with the flesh. And then the rib he took, he created, a woman. And he presented her to the man. And the man said, that is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Now then it goes into, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife. And they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. So this is what, was going on when God said that this was not good. So now here we go. He's created a family. He already created all the provision, which was earth, the Garden of Eden, all the animals, everything, the food, everything that they needed. And then He created them and gave them to each other. Now remember, all things work together for the good. So when he said not good, he changed it, he fixed it himself, and then everything was good. So now remember, man, woman, child, family must be submitted to whom? To God. Now forget about all of these things these people be telling you, because everyone wants love. I get it. Everybody want to be with somebody. A lot of them either not married, never been married. They want to be married. They make marriage an idol, all these different type of things. And of course, it's not, that God doesn't want us to be married. It's just we're not supposed to make idols of anything, people, places, or things. And that includes marriage. That includes, a husband or wife. That includes your family, your children. Nothing's supposed to come before God. And it is supposed to always be God, man, woman, children. That's the correct order that it's supposed to go in. So now God created help that was meet, that would help him, that would be sufficient. Where they would do life together, they would be fruitful, multiply, have dominion, all of that, which is what he gave Adam and Eve, the power, to dominate earth, and all that was in it was, under Adam's submission. And so they're supposed to do, life together. So now this is why the devil attacks it so much, because it's something that God loves and he created it. And because we're his family and he came and died for us, to redeem us back. And the devil will mimic and send you any and everything just so that it will be false. It will mess it up. You'll see that people who are not married may last longer. Why? Because they're stagnated. He's keeping them where he wants them. He enjoys it being that way. He does not want anything to be the way God wants it to be. And when it is, he wants to disrupt it, destroy it. And this is why we see a lot of things that we see happening. He does not like marriage. And if you are going to be married, he doesn't want you to be married to the person, the one that God has for you, the one that is going to allow your marriage to glorify God, because it's supposed to be a ministry, and throughout everything we do, we're supposed to be glorifying God in it. So he would rather you be with someone that is not going to be that, or he'll send you someone that will not be of that. And this is what happens. So I was, single. I had 4 kids. When I met my husband, my youngest son, father had just passed, so I was going through some things. And then, Hurricane Sandy hit whenever we was living in New York, and we met online. We didn't actually date or anything. We were just talking online for about 3 months, then we finally met. And a lot of things was going on because and he had his own little issues. And this is what I mean by people with the demons, with their own, curses in their own bloodlines. We look at each other. Oh, she cute. He nice. He this. And then we think, oh, let's get married. Let's do this. Let's do that. Listen, it has to be about more than that. You have to know more about the person than that, because it's not going to work just that based on its own. Now, remember, I had already had my issues. He had his before he came and met me. He was in and out of prison or, jail or whatever. And he had his other stuff going on. And he was older than me, but he wasn't really situated. I had my 4 children, but I was a little bit more stable as far as, what I had going on at the time. And I was working, I was going to school. It was just a lot of things going on at the time in my own life. And I will tell you, when you are getting your life together, do not be looking for anyone. Do not let people think God is going to send you someone. No, when you're getting your life together, get your life together. I had already had 4 children. He didn't have any. And that was another thing, because he wanted children at the time. I was going through issues with, my own stuff that I had going on. And remember, these generational curses and things could be things we don't even know nothing about. And we were both living in sin. We were not together, not living, meaning in saved. So God was not a part of this. He was not in none of this. He was Jehovah's Witness, but he wasn't practicing Jehovah's Witness. And I was a Christian, but I would go to church from time to time, but I wasn't living. So when we look at all of these factors, we're getting to see already. So we met. Eventually, we dated, whatever. Eventually, we started living together. A lot of things going wrong. Financially, he was not situated. He had a job, but, he was in a halfway house. He was not stable. So coming to stay with me taking on the extra, I would say at the time I loved him. I wanted to be with him. And I was like, okay, whatever, fine, let's do this together. Do not get together out of struggle love. I'm going to tell people that. These people talk about, oh, build your man, wait, help him. Do not, because things will change. And when they do, people change. And either you're going to change together or you're going to grow apart. Usually when folks are dating for financial reasons, meaning because they're financially either unstable or whatever the case may be, this is usually what they're doing. They're dating for help, not for love. And when we look at these situations and these circumstances, this is where we fall short. This is where I see where I messed up and went wrong at. Because although I may have needed assistance, it wasn't to that extent. I had my own stuff going on. But it would have been beneficial for the both of us, in some regard, but not because financially he was not as stable as I was. And so I actually took on more of a burden than I should have. And it was because of love, and it was because, like I said, let all of the stuff you hear, these people on these talk shows and all of this go out the window, because unless they themselves are married or have been married and things, and there's a lot of stuff they do not discuss and tell you. But when it comes to outside influences, when it comes to generational curses that you may have and you may not even know that you have them, that are leading up, maybe, if you see your parents got married but never stayed married, and it's on both sides of your family, that may be a curse, and that could be in your side and his side. These are all things that we need to take into consideration when we are looking for a mate. Also, when you are out in sin and you're already having sex, remember, sex is only for marriages. It's not for fornication outside of marriage. We already were both out there doing that, and I already had my kids. It was already a lot of a situation on both of our ends. He had to accept 4 kids that he didn't have any, and he didn't have any of his own. And he had a stepson, which wasn't his natural son, but, that was another thing. And she was married to someone else, and his real father was not in her life. There was just a lot going on. And these outside factors will play a major role in your relationship with these people, because for some reason, once you get together and decide that you're going to be a couple, be together, be happy or whatever, all hell will break loose then. And that's on your side, your family, your friends, your children, it's on his side as well. There will be a lot of situations that are going to arise. Why? Because for whatever reason, the devil will use them. He will use the people closest to you to tear up situations, whether it's his parents, your parents, whether it's his friends, your friends, the children, etc. There will be a lot of stuff going on. Why? Because now you're trying to make this something that is actually, God may actually bless. And it's not that God cannot or won't bless it. It's just that how we go about it. And because we didn't put God first, because we are already in sin, these are already some things. Now, God will accept it if he chooses to, because he accepts marriage. That's why when people say you can marry people when you marry someone. Because God honors the institution of marriage, and we're going to get into it more, because it is also is a covenant and it is a contract. Now, altar, depending on how it's spelled, can either mean change or it can mean sacred platform. So it's a difference in the spelling. But both of them play significant meanings, because to alter something is to change it. And the other one would be as a platform. So you can have a change, or you can have a platform, or you can have a mixture of the two going on, depending on what's going on. And then a covenant is really a formal, solemn, binding agreement. And this is for either legal, religious, or promises and oaths or vows to each other. So when we do these things and we're getting married, it's between us, it's between God. So it's supposed to be. And a 3-strand cord is not easily broken. Why? Because God is in the middle of you guys, holding it together, covering it. And when he's not, this is when a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. You're still going to have your challenges, saved or not. I'm telling you, you're going to have them, because the devil does not want to glorify family marriages. This is why we see the breakup of families. He knows that it's a great impact when it comes to God loving it, putting his hands on it, covering it. This is something God enjoys, so he doesn't want us to have that. Remember, Christ came so we can have life more abundantly right here. Why? Because a lot went on, during sin, and a lot goes on during this world because of sin, because of his systems and his kingdoms. And the way it operates towards us is the opposite of what God's original design was. And for me personally, when I look at the contract as well, it says legally binding agreement, which can be enforceable obligations that are not. Some obligations are not agreements. So these all three tie, and they go hand in hand when you talk about also a covenant and contract, because this is what we're actually doing when we get married, and we're saying I do to each other, to our family, to our friends, to God. And it's before everybody as witnesses to, witness the event. And so now once you get there and you're in it, because like I said, leading up to all of this, there was a lot going on. And I wasn't sure when he asked and all of that. And I was like, well, are you sure? And everybody was like, oh, the ring, oh, it is, because he proposed without a ring. It was just a lot. But it wasn't about the ring. It wasn't about the wedding day. It was like, were we going to make it? And, I asked him that, and he knew I couldn't. It would be hard for me to have more children. It was just a lot going on. And I knew that was something that he really wanted. But for whatever reason, God didn't allow it. And I really think sometimes when I look back that maybe this could have been a counterfeit situation, because years before this I thought I was going to get married. I was told that from way before when I was saved, and I was in the church then. This is way because I kind of been back and forth all my life, and the pastor told me that, and then it never happened, and I was disappointed, and a lot went on in that church, and I left, and I stopped serving because I was disappointed about the things that did not happen or did not go right in my life at the time. And I was just like, I really was disappointed in God and in myself. So now this go around, I said, well, maybe this is what he was talking about. Maybe, my pastor told me years ago that I would get married. Maybe this is, because at the time I wasn't thinking about it. I was seeing other people. I was not, when I first met him, and I told him we didn't have to, do all this extra. He's seeing people, I'm seeing people. And I just, at that time, I really was not focused on it. And, my son's father had just passed, so it was a lot. So, but after we didn't get it together, we didn't, met. We talked on the phone 3 months, started dating, got together. Next thing you know, he's moving in, and we're doing all this other stuff. So we was actually together, living together for 3 years before we actually got married. And this, was still sin. And so it's like, and a lot even went on during that time. And I tell people, we got to pay attention to the signs, pay attention. And the closer it seemed like we got to getting married. And I was wondering if that was a sign that God was telling me, a red flag that I just wasn't paying attention to. I felt like it was, we went through all of this and we're still together. And if we're still together, it means something. Sometimes it means the total opposite, that you shouldn't even do it. So I wasn't asking God. I wasn't trying to hear from God. We wasn't trying to put God in it. We left him out of it. I'm telling you, it was like he's there, but he's not there. He was just conveniently thrown in there here and there, which is a no-no. So now, when I look into it, right, look more into it, and I'm looking into the verses, because it says in Malachi 2:16, God hates divorce, and I'm kind of, and then Matthew 5:32 speaks about, hold on, let me see, I'm about to go to it right now. Is it Matthew? Because Moses gave them a way out, which was divorce. But then when Christ came, he said it was never supposed to be that way. And that was because it was because of what was going on in the hearts of men. And that is because they were allowed to divorce, because people were divorcing for, any little thing. And remember back then, this was, and it's supposed to be the same way now. They're supposed to be virgins. They're not supposed to, be together. There's dowries. There's all these things that went, before they ever even said the I do's. The parents had to agree to it. All of this was, this is how it was supposed to originally be, because they, the agreements and all that was made with the families usually. And it says, and then there was dowries paid, and they had the ceremony, the courting ceremony, which was and then it was actual, and once they actually, the only way you would be married is after you consummated the marriage, meaning have sex, and that's the day that man would find out if the woman was a virgin or not, because they would take the thing and wave it outside the bloody sheets to show. So that's the covenant. You see what I'm saying? It's the blood covenant. And that's why you talk about breaking up the hymen and all of these things, because this is what this is really supposed to be about. And when we think about ourselves and our lives and the way we live according to the way the world says, not what God says. And this is why we find ourselves in all of these situations. So, because we're not doing it the godly way. And now that we done got so much entangled in sin, and we may be trying to walk right and do things the right way, it's so much other stuff that we got to clear out before we can even get to that point. And we need God's help for that. So, hold on. I'm still trying to find this verse because I've been looking for it. And I remember I had it before, where Moses allowed the divorce because of the hardness of the Israel's hearts. And this means that God created a set of rules limiting the damage, meaning for them not to be able to just get married and get divorced like you see us doing now all of the time, just because we just don't want to be bothered. And that's not what God intended either. Because although we don't take our altars, covenants, and contracts seriously, God does. And so then there is, what is this? Matthew 5:32. Hold on, I'm trying to go through this. Hold on. Okay. So this is Matthew Yeah, 19:8, God meant not to divorce. Then we got 1 Corinthians 7:11 says remain unmarried. Then Mark 5:31 is the certificate of divorce. That's when they talk about the actual being able to get the certificate of divorce. And then there's Matthew 5:32, and they're talking about divorce as because of adultery. Let me go to these books because I'm trying to I kind of flip back and forth with these verses. I apologize. And I want to make sure that we have the right ones in, order for us. What is it? Matthew 5. Okay, so, and the verse was 30 something, 31 and 32. It was also said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the grounds of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Now, this is where I'm in the middle at. Because technically speaking, but we both committed adultery because he did it and then I did it. So I'm not really sure. This is why I still wear my rings. This is why I'm kind of at a confused state because I'm asking God, what is, now I want to be divorced because he's long gone, I'm gone. We've been separated 5 years. And if I get married again or not, I just don't want to be with him any longer. And I want to be free of that. So this is what God is saying about, this is what I believe Jesus is saying about this. So that was Matthew 31. And then it says in 33, it says, and again, you have heard that it was said that those who owe you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform to the Lord what you have sworn, meaning keep your vow. But I say to you, do not take an oath at all, either by heaven or its throne, or of God, or by earth, meaning swearing on the footstool of Jesus, for it is the city of the great King. And do not take an oath by your head, for you cannot make one here black or white on your head. Let what you say be simply yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. Well, this is why, because they're talking about when we are taking these oaths, because they're supposed to be, in heaven and earth. And so when you do get married, this is what we're talking about. Taking these oaths, these vows, these covenants, these altars and contracts. Altars, covenants, and contracts, meaning the vows, the altars, the agreement, the promise, the contract. So here we are. We're doing all of this and we're not taking it seriously. And as you can see, it is a very serious situation. So now I can go to Malachi. Hold on, I'm going to go to Malachi. I want to see because it was in Malachi. It's Malachi 2:16. 2:16, and I'm going to go where it says God hates divorce. So it says, Malachi 2:16 says, for the man who does not love his wife but divorces her, says the Lord, the God of Israel, covers his garment with violence, says the Lord of hosts. So guard yourselves in your spirit and do not be faithless. So God clearly, he hates divorce. And he's really not of it. And so when you see people just getting married and getting divorced and getting married, we're not supposed to do that. We're really not. And, people say, oh, she's crazy. No, because that is not God's original plan. You're only really supposed to get married one time. Let's be real and honest about it. And then if we do it again, then it's like, how many more times are we able to do this? Because you see what I'm saying? So when we're looking at these things, we have to be, serious. And in 1 Corinthians, it says sometimes it's better just to remain unmarried, 1 Corinthians 7:11, than it is to get married again. Because, like I said, even with that, marriage is a ministry. And it's not just about you and him. It's about God getting the glory out of your lives, along with your family and your children, and being, blessed and highly favored, because God covers marriages. He loves marriage. He's into marriage. And people say whether you marry the right one or not, God still blesses the union because you decided to do that. Whether he was in it or not, because you already did it, he honors it. So now, you see what I'm saying? And so these are the questions that I'm having myself, which I have been trying to figure out because, different pastors or whatever, and I'm reading the scriptures to find, because I'm finding different things myself. I get God does not want us to be just getting married to divorce. That part he does not want. So when you see people married once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, come on now, you doing too much. You see what I'm saying? You're doing entirely too much because God's not in that. That's you, your flesh. That's other things going on with you. And it's not about God. And it's not about, you see what I'm saying? So now we got to get our minds right and get it together. So now here we go. And like I said, Moses gave them where they could get divorced. And that's because they was doing a lot themselves. Because we got to understand something. Like I was saying, coming under attack. And it could be from our own desires, our own selves. When you be with a person after a certain while, sex. If it's just about sex and looks, that's not gonna hold it. That's not gonna sustain a marriage. It's not gonna sustain a relationship. If you have your own little demons when you're getting into it and you already weren't saved, that's gonna be another issue. Like I said before, outside influences, which is your family, his family, your friends, your children. That's another situation. Then you have your careers, the money, the ambitions, these things you want to do, because a lot of people base their lives and their, relationships and everything around either money, power, fame, whatever. These are the things that they base it off of. Now, you must have money to fund your household. Don't get me wrong. So yes, we do have to have finances. When it comes to, sacrificing everything for your children, for your dreams, for your goals. You can't be selfish in marriage, because at the end of the day, it's not an I, me situation. It's a us, we situation. And once you see people just I, me, no, there's no I in team. It's supposed to be we and us. And a lot of times when people are not getting their needs met or whatever, we don't come together and discuss it. And more than anything, we have left God out of it. So we're not married up under God's structure. So that's already gone. Then we're not, following protocol with each other and with God as far as to how to build it, make it grow, protect it, pray over it, ourselves, our children, our finances, including God in all the choices that we're making, whether it's a spouse, whether it's our finances, whether it's our careers, whether it's our children, all of that. We've had jobs that we were working opposite schedules. It's a lot of things that happen. These are things that people normally don't discuss when the sex when you get tired of each other, when you don't want to be bothered with one another, when it's the same old routine, same old everything, you want to spice it up, and then you try, and then you're growing different places, different areas, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, you're going in different directions, and either you're going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. Now, in that, you can do counseling, you can ask God to help you, could pray for it, whatever. Yes, but if you're not both fighting for it, and this is another thing, it's not going to work. It's just not. And like I said, I see a lot of different things from, the sex, the way we look, how we handle each other on a day-to-day basis, who is better at handling what, whether it was the finances, whether it was this, and coming into things lying and cheating and stealing, and that's already going to be a no-no. Not having trust. These things are already going to taint it, because the one thing that God, and people look at, because remember, when you get married, there's two, in the spiritual and in the natural, it's a better blood situation. Why? Because you have two heads, two households, you have two people coming together to share the work. And that's another thing. If you're not sharing everything, meaning a lot of times the men say they want you to submit and all this other stuff, but then they're not leaders. They're not able to lead. You have to be able to lead, make decisions, make good decisions. And that's even before you meet this person. If you can't make decisions of your own and have your own finances in order, have your own life, how are you going to lead a family and your children and other people? You can't come into a woman's household and want to live with her, and she take care of you, and she's making more income or whatever, and then you're going to sit there and tell her to submit to you, and you want to take over her finances, you want to take over everything she has going on, when you yourself was not good at these areas, because if you was, your life would show the fruits of that. So when we look at these things get to be very, very important, because after a while, you get tired of, all of it, having to weigh the burden of the load all the time. You want to eventually get to a place where you both are sharing in the load. And if one person's carrying more than the other, that's going to be a breakdown if it's a consistent thing. Sometimes he will carry more, then you'll carry more here, or back and forth. But if it's always a situation to where you're just loaded down with a lot of stuff, no. And for a lot of us women, like I said before, over and over again, and I tell myself and my children this as well, domestic violence is a no-no. adultery, cheating, which people say, oh, if he cheat or if she cheats, you could stay. No, cheating is, understand something, is grounds for divorce in the spiritual and in the natural realm. Why? People do not have to stay. They don't have to tolerate that. They don't have to put up with it. Why? Because STDs, diseases, all these things, the demons are out there, sexually transmitted demons. When we look at the growing together, it says it. Why? Because once you have that blood covenant, we are exchanging fluids. This is why sex is considered to be between two who are married, because your DNA gets in each other. And this is why you're supposed to become how you become one in the spirit and in the flesh. People do not understand it. So once you start doing this type of stuff, you start mixing other DNAs with yours and the other person's and all this other stuff. That's not what God intended that to be about. And so the one thing that I would tell people too is, because as we could see in the spiritual and the natural, if you can't trust your spouse, then who can you trust? You want to build a life, you want to have men and women, because a lot of men feel like they should be able to cheat and have other women, and they should be able to do what they want as long as they work and provide. That is not one biblical, nor is it even in the natural realm allowed, because that's a no-no. And if you want someone to be loyal to you, you have to be loyal. The one thing, when people look at businesses and they're trying to vet people, if you're going to cheat on your wife and you want me to trust you with my company and my business, if you would sleep next to someone every night and lie to her and cheat on her and mistreat her, what makes you think I want you to come join my company? You're not a trustworthy person. And a lot of men say, oh, they protect and they love their wives. No, they do not. If you are talking bad about her, if you're conversating with other people about, and this goes both ways, men and women, that is not what you do to a person you love. That's not how you handle a person you love. So we must understand that, no. And when we look at these issues and we see, this is where a lot of the break, looking at other people is already, you see what I'm saying? It's very disrespectful, but actually entertaining it and going further, that is total disrespect. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that in the beginning, before I knew, because my kids knew before I did, and that was another whole conversation. You know, me and him would argue about things before this, and this is because he would allow the kids to do things I wouldn't. Then it was with the stepson. It was a lot of stuff going on with that because she had a lot of issues, you know, which I wasn't understanding, but she did with me. And I'm like, I don't understand. Y'all are not together. You've been not together. She was married, had 2 other kids. And this was not technically his son, but it was a son he was helping raise. So he didn't have any kids of his own, and we were trying. And I had 4 of my own. But their fathers wasn't involved. The only one that was the one that died, that, you know, right before I met him. So, I mean, I didn't have that issue where my kids' fathers was coming around calling and all this. No, they were already long since gone. But I noticed when you get with someone, this is just like looking for a job. Nobody wants you till somebody else has you and see you being happy. So all of your exes, your friends, your lovers will come out the woodwork, and then you have a bunch of new people as well. But that's just the devil trying to tempt you. But if you're not being careful and mindful, you will fall for it. You will be all of this from people who never cared about you, didn't care about nothing what you had going on. It could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be like I said, ex-lovers, ex-friends, whatever it is. They will come out, baby mamas, you know, baby daddies, they will come out the woodwork. So when we sit here and we look at these type of things, we must understand, if you are ready and these people have children and they have all of this going on, you have to yourself be ready and able to deal with all this on top of your own stuff. This is what I'm saying. So please understand, for everyone who wants to get married, and I get it, I understand. But before you do, because it is a ministry, and the person you will be with that was going to glorify God with you, and y'all be able to walk and do, you know, ministry together as far as each other, making sure each other is loved and covered, and you're submitting to one another, because people love to submit to one another. They just want us to submit to the man. No, we only submit to a man that's submitted to God, because God is the head of his life. And because he loves God more than he loves you, which he's supposed to, that's where that goes. Just submitting to a man because he's a man, that's not where that's supposed to be. And they'll tell you this. As I said, throw out all of the stuff that people tell you in the world, because we're going to deal with this thing head on, because this is why it doesn't work. Half of them aren't married, never been married, or they didn't stay married, whatever the case. I'm only here telling you we're separated about what I see went on as a person to got into a marriage, thought it was going to be one way, and then it was not. So and then it's a loss. It's a loss of the marriage. God grieves it. It's a loss of the children, the family. It's a loss. And it is. Because when you're growing with your spouse and you're growing, you have your household, you're growing children together, and you're intertwining everything, your money, your finances, your time, money, energy, and you are becoming one in every aspect. And then something happens and you guys tear it apart. It is a snatching. It is a tearing. It hurts. It's a separating, a cutting away, and it is not easy. It is not good. It is very hurtful. It is very, painful. And a lot of people like to enjoy it. They like to sleep with married people. They like to do all of these other things. I'm telling you, whether they're together or not, and they're still married. I'm telling you, you bring upon yourself, whether it's the married people and the outsiders. That's why we shouldn't get other people involved in our stuff. And I tell people that all the time. When you're married, do not get outsiders involved in your stuff, whatever you're going through. Why? Because you include them, and once you do that, you're not supposed to. The symbolism of the wedding bands is to keep those out from harming us and to keep you from harming them. These are things that we, and the love is supposed to be infinity. We're supposed to be moving, When we look at our lives, a person that you're going to marry has to be able to handle you, your finances, your children. If something was to happen to you, if something happened to your, children. I tell people regular stuff is what I'm, normal stuff. But the extra would be the extra outside affairs, the extra people, that's extra. There's normal wear and tear that marriages will go through. Normal wear and tear. And then there's straight up extra stuff, extreme stuff. Like I said, it wasn't even just the one because it was plenty. And then I thought I was going to introduce, spice up the marriage or whatever with the sex toys and the wearing of the lingerie. But that in itself, I don't know. Once you open Pandora's box, he went left with it. And it just, and because of all these other influences that he accepted and his mind changed and he became more than what he thought he was and his pride and his ego, and he could do what he wanted to do. Because this is what happened when you get married. It's all cute in the beginning, it's honeymoon stage, but the middle is going to determine the end, because you start not, once we got settled in life and we're working, schedules is opposite. We're making money. We're trying to build and grow. We're trying to get the kids, they're teenagers growing up, and we're having issues with them. And, and trying to tackle these things together and be on one accord. And the children will have you arguing about them. And if you're not protecting yourselves and being manipulated about them and what they want, because children will do that. They will split you up. It's a lot. The outside forces, the outside situations where people calling, wanting to disrupt your happiness, your peace, because they themselves don't want to see you happy. And marriages and funerals tend to bring out the best and the worst in people. I just tell people that all of the time. I don't know what it is about people that die and they ain't spoke to in years, but they feel like you should leave them something and you owe them something. Same thing with marriages. I don't get it. People just they feel like it's about them. It's just so much, the family, the friends, the children, everybody, the exes and nexes, the new people that come along that, everyone doesn't like it, don't want you to be together, don't want you to make it because they didn't make it, whatever it is. And when I tell you these things, and it seems like as soon as you get married and you want to be together, everybody comes out to worry. Now you so pretty. Now you so this. Now he's so handsome. All these women want him. Where were they before he got married or met you? You see what I'm saying? But see, people have to pay attention to these type of things because it's just a setup. And if you take it and you fall for it, I'm telling you, it's not going to be what you need, thought, or wanted it to be. It's not. I'm telling you. So when we sit here and we break it down from the jobs and the finances, that could be issues, whether you're both making good money, you're not able to, or who's over the finances and how that's being handled. And you have to have trust with that. You cannot be lying and hiding money. You cannot be, saving yours for a rainy day or giving it to someone else. No, you have to be truthful and honest with what you're doing so that you can work together in these situations. So, sometimes the woman is better with the finances, the man is better than other things. Whatever it is, we must, and that's what I'm saying with the leading. When it comes to the leading and submitting, we're supposed to submit to one another. We're supposed to be working together. You see what I'm saying? these pride-filled people feel like you're supposed to submit to the man. You're supposed to do this. Listen, he has to be submitted to God. He has to know how to lead. He has to know how to wear that crown, because with that crown comes responsibility and decisions and things that he needs to be making. And if he's going to lead, he needs to lead well. He needs to lead in leading the household to God, leading the household to fighting for his family in the spiritual and in the natural, and providing and protecting them and making decisions that's based off us and we, not I and me, right? Because this is what it's sacrifice. It is not about you in the marriage. None of it. It's not. It's about God. It's about the children. It's about all these other things. And it's about your life together as a whole. And God getting the glory out of your marriage, out of people seeing two saved people or two people who saved and love God and love each other and are working together to show people as an example. This is the way that this is supposed to go. It's supposed to be a family. We're supposed to work together. We're supposed to build and grow, not just in the natural realm, but in the spiritual realm, with God being the head and first. And he's guiding us and showing us where to go and what to do in every aspect together of our lives, in our financial lives and in our careers, in our mental lives, mentally being, in our sound mind and being able to make sound good decisions to protect one another, to keep one another, to love one another, to have it, to hold one another, along with, our physical, being able to be fit, not sickly, not disease filled, being fighting in the spirit, fighting, in the natural to protect your health, your wealth, your mental, your physical, your financial. Then it's the finances and the spiritual, because spiritually you need God's covering, you need his protection, and you need to hear his voice in order to him to guide you how to, lead, how to submit, when you need to submit to one another at different times about different situations, when to be strong, when to fall back, when to come together to, whatever, get when it comes to other situations, compromising, and this is what it's all about. And so, because, like I said, a lot of this, if one person is a I person, the other person is a I person, or one is a we person, the other is a I person, it can't be like, you both have to be we and us. It can't be an I on either end. It's not going to work. And before you do anything, God has to be in the middle. Because God will correct you when you're wrong. God will correct him when he's wrong. God will tell you to submit, go apologize, go do this. What you said or what you did is wrong. And like I said, even with myself, I see the things that I did well. I see the things that I didn't do. So it's a blessing, a lesson that I learned from. I did it one time. I wanted, and I paid myself. Whatever he did, he cheated, he did. And I did just as much, because I was angry. I was bitter. I was full of it. When it came to, by the time, he had his triggers and issues before he met me and things and his curses, and I had mine. And by the time we got together, not really knowing everything that was going on with each other, this is what it came about. He had issues with finances and pride and ego. He wants, to be Lord and ruler and, but then you want me to, handle finances and stuff like this stuff you need to handle as a man, as a leader. You don't want to handle it. You can't do that. You see what I'm saying? And then you want me to handle it, but then you want me to submit. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. And for my women, we cannot pick men like this. And this is why we shouldn't pick. We should allow God to let us know who is for us. God's not going to send you certain types of situations. I don't care. The devil will send them to you. And sometimes he'll send you exactly what you prayed for, and it will not go the way you thought it was going to go. The counterfeits cannon will be sent, looking like it's the one, and it's not. So you have to be paying attention. But more than anything, we're not called to be lookers for a mate. It says he who finds a wife finds a good thing. We're supposed to just be living our lives and minding our business and doing what we're doing. And this is what I'm doing. Because I know I'm still technically married. So technically, it's like, in God's eyes, I still have a husband, whether we are together or not. We're still married. And whoever we're with is like, it's committing adultery. And until we get divorced, which is what I want to do, and we were talking, like I said, this is why I was looking at the divorce situation to try to figure out what is going to be with this divorce situation. And then moving forward with my life, like, Lord, what am I supposed to do moving forward? Because, I don't necessarily want to be with my husband anymore. I just don't. And I know God could probably work it out and do it in all things. But if it's not my desire, like I told God, then He will give us the desires of our heart. I don't necessarily think to forgive him and for him to forgive me is one thing, but to be together again is not. And I would never want it to be what it was. I would want it to be better. But I just don't feel in my soul and in my spirit being with him would be what I need to be doing. I feel like that will be going backwards. I feel like it would not be something that, don't get me wrong, God can get the glory out of any and everything, but it's not necessarily something I want. I don't want to be with him, and he probably don't want to be with me either. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? But as we look at it, I mean, unless it was God's plan for us to be, I would just say no. And so that's why I'm here, and I'm trying to just, live my life. My kids are grown now, and they're on their own, and I have grandkids. And this is the type of part in time in my life I thought we would have been together, growing old together, and doing other things. But I'm here trying to figure out, navigate life as to which way am I going. But I'm not putting so much emphasis on this or any one thing except for God, because I see how things could be. You have all of these things at one end and then it's all gone. So this is why I tell people, do not put your trust in people, places, and things, because you 1 minute you'll be fine, and then you'll have it, and then the next minute it won't be there. And then because of your heart and the desires of it, and you giving your all, God says to guard your heart so that these things don't devastate you, and break you, because some of these things are soul ties, and they will break you, meaning soul wounds where they break whole, your mess up your spirit, your womb, your soul. These wounds will be there, and it takes time to get rid of the hurt from it. And like I said, we both cheated. We did. And I know I have to pay for that, answer to God for that, just like he does. And we really went at it towards the middle and the end. It really got ugly. But then I got to see, that I guess I was just tired of because I didn't want to get married. We didn't have to. I knew once we did, if I separated or it didn't work, that it would be harder to get away from, as opposed to being, and I'm not going to say living in sin, not get married, fornicating just is a wonderful thing, because it's not. And God tells us that. But at the same token, once you get married and you in the altar, covenant, and a contract, and you start doing these things, child, like it said in Corinthians, sometimes it's best that you just don't even get married if you're going to be dealing with all of this. So, and it's in the spiritual and in the natural, really and truthfully. So I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I don't know what God has in store. I'm sitting here 5 years later. We have been separated for 5 years, and I'm trying to figure out which way it is that we're going to go. I'm looking forward to trying to be divorced, just because I want to end that part of my life, and I want to move forward. And it's hard to move forward when you're still stuck in dealing with the situation. And the main reason was the financial part, because we did have assets, and although we never had children, which we were trying to, and I guess God did not, I mean, he couldn't have any. I had children, and we were trying. He thought it was me, but if I got 4 living children and you don't have any children, whether you were with me or not, see, and then people don't understand that could be one of the bloodline curses, because I don't think his sister has kids either. And we don't know. So being that I have children and he does not, and that kind of runs in his family, these are things that, need to be looked at. And his mind was always me, me, me. And in my mind, I'm just like, but how is it me? Because I have 4 kids. So, but when people's minds are so based around themselves and the selfishness, that's why I said, do not get married for looks. Do not get married for finances. Do not get married for body types and all of these stupid things. Those things, your body, you can get sick tomorrow. You can have an accident. Your body could be tore up. You can lose all your finances. Then you be broke. Are you really going to love this person? Are you really going to stick by them? Are you still going to be with them? If you don't have the trust, if you don't have loyalty on both ends, and when I say that, trust and loyalty, meaning being faithful, being honest with each other, being able to work well together and talk to each other and tell each other what's going on, communicate, listen, work together. then you don't really have anything, because all of the other stuff does not mean anything if y'all are not going to be together and working together. The wedding is one day, the marriage is for a lifetime, and either you're going to do it and do it right and work together and love to each other, and it's supposed to be you and your family and God against the world and against the devil. If y'all are not doing that, then you're not doing anything, because once you get sick or once something goes wrong, you're going to see the true test of how strong the relationship is. And you're going to see that it either was a superficial situation where just surface level, or if it was a serious, really, relationship where if you got sick, that person would be there, take care of you, take care of the house, the finances. You could trust them. You could trust them with your monies, with your bank accounts, that they're not going to fraud you. They're not going to take money, go be spending on someone else and be with them and leave you. You see what I'm saying? That they're going to be there to, if you got sick and they had to make the decision to pull the plug on you or something like this. Is the type of people that you have to be trusting. Okay, when you think about getting married and talk about trust and love and honesty, this is what that's about. Because all that, oh, he look good, or oh, she got a fatty, and all that is not gonna get it. I'm telling you, that is not going to work. So when they sit here and they tell you all these wonderful things about married life, once you get settled in and it's the regular schmegular, it is not the glamorous thing. Everybody, you roll over, your breath stink, his breath stink. I'm telling you, it's the regular schmegular. But the only difference is, and I tell people this scenario. I remember they had this thing with, I forget who was it. Was it the twins? It was a movie, and they said a bone is just a bone until two dogs get together and decide that the other one is not going to have it. So the value that is placed on these people, places, and things is only the value as long as it's in that person's mind. So, and a lot of times, they don't want someone to have it because they got it, or they don't want them to have. And these are the ego trips that we go through. You see what I'm saying? Because even now, us being divorced, it's not that we couldn't be divorced. I've been trying. Although he's with other people and doing what he want to do, we must understand we could have went down to the courthouse, especially now all the assets and everything is gone, and we could have just signed the paperwork. My thing with that is, but because people don't want you to move on with your life and be happy, instead of just letting me go and letting us go on about our lives, he would rather hold me and hold my life up instead of just divorcing me. Now, you with other people, be with them. What's the point? But because, why would you hold me up? Even when it came to the house and other things, let's just sell it and split the money and go on about our business so it doesn't mess up our credit. He didn't want to do that. So now I got to do bankruptcy. It was my credit that got it. I gave him some of my credit. You see, when things like this are transpiring, this is how ugly it could get to the water roses. Now, we went through things, and I said I did plenty of stuff to him, don't get me wrong. But then when it came to the big things, it's like, why drag it out? Why prolong it and make it this long of a situation? It just didn't have to be. And when people are vindictive and when they're this and when they're angry, because I guess he's angry because it didn't go the way he wanted it. I didn't just sit there and take the foolishness and allow him to do what he wanted to do, allow him to be, seeing other women while I stayed home and played the nice submissive wife and cooked and cleaned and tended to the kids and did what he wanted me to do. And because I was not going to, accept that, deal with that, I didn't want no parts of it. I said, never mind, I'll go see some other body, or which was wrong, or we can just split up, because getting married to live single lives is not what I planned on doing. And I told you that from the beginning. So when we look at these things, it just doesn't make any sense for me to still be sitting here married when 5 years we haven't been with each other. And it just doesn't make any sense. We would have been together a total of 13 years. It would have been 10 years today married. And we would have been together 7 years, because we got married 3 years after we got together. So we was together 5 years during the marriage and then 5 years separated. So this just doesn't make any sense. And usually they say these type of things happen, and the statistics of families and the children and how they are, grow up and dysfunctional and all of this behind these type of things, or even in single parent households where they're struggling with the finances and stuff. These things pay a big toll on not just the parents, but the children. It's the finances, it's all of these things. And even with your loved ones, because the things we were able to do as a couple before, Like with our families and stuff, it's different when you're separated and you're single, because now it's the incomes is gone. It's all, and that's why when we look at it, especially when it comes to Black people, I tell people all the time, us sticking together with families, helping pay off grandma's house, mommy's house, helping one another stick together and do things better than like others, nationalities sticking together and handling things so they're growing their wealth, they're growing their other stuff. Why? Because to be financially stable, we want to be stable. We don't want to be impoverished, right? But we want to be working together to build and grow. And we see all these other people get married, stay married, have their children, do all these other things while they exploit, especially us as, people of color. Oh, if she doesn't look a certain way, if she doesn't have a big booty, if she doesn't this, all of these superficial things, if she don't dress like this, or he don't dress like this, or he don't look like this, or he don't have this type of money, or he don't have, And then when we look at the end times and we look at what's going on when it's time for, let's say, the man to step up and defend the household, but then you got all of these other children all over the place. I mean, I don't get it. They talk about the women, if we were to cheat, we have one child. I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers and he was like, I'm like, because a man can have multiple children if he's having sex with more than one woman in a year. A woman can only have one child per year because it takes 9 months. So when we sit here and we do the demographics of it and they talk about, oh, how much the woman she's bringing 50-50. No, she's not bringing 50-50, because usually if she's paying bills, she's cooking, she's cleaning, she's tending to the children, she has homework to do with them. If she's working, if she's in school, she has other things. The man usually works and just come home and pays a bill and that's it. And that's where I say, when it comes to women, because they say, marriage is for women. I'm like, how? Because we do most of the bulk of the work. I mean, usually, and that's not fair, because a lot of the men don't want to pick up the other end. If we're going to do it 50-50, then you need to help with the kids, which you should anyway, and you need to help with laundry, and you need to help cook, you need to help clean, you need to help do all these other things. Why? Because, okay, the woman's worn down, she's tired, she don't look the way she used to, right? Because that goes to show what you're putting into her as far as taking the load off of her instead of adding more to her, and you being so selfish. It's all about me, what I want, my needs, having sex, doing this, looking good, doing stupid, childish stuff that doesn't mean a whole lot. You need to be doing other things that is going to uplift the household and the family, instead of worrying about how a woman looks and how other women look compared to her and the sex life and all of that. Those things are big things, but they're not, because they're not the majority of what's going on in the relationship. So we have to understand that there's so much more than just looking good and having sex and all of these other things. There's all these other facets of the relationship that have to be tended to in order for the day-to-day life to be sustained. And if you're not doing that, then you're not doing anything. I mean, you're just adding more frustration, aggravation to the table, to the pot. And these are the things that, like I said, when we look back, at these situations, we must understand it has to be about more. But us as women, we have to stop within ourselves, because low self-esteem, our own, baggages. I know on my mom's side and my dad's side, both of them were married. They had failed marriages. So I guess it's the marriage thing is on my end as well, because when you look at that, my bloodline when it comes to marriage was not the greatest. My bloodline was, when it comes to certain things, just was not the greatest. And then myself being molested and all those other things as a child did not help, the situation either. So when he came into my life and we had to unpack all of this baggage, it's a lot. And you have to be willing to work, because both of you is going to have baggage, and you have to be able to be willing to unpack the baggage together and to have a safe space to discuss what went on in your life, to be able to unload it and be able to go to counseling, to do it yourselves at home, and to be able to comfort each other and love each other, because your whole well-being on both ends is what is necessary for you to keep and maintain the marriage, the household. This is where God comes in a major way, because God has to heal us and he has to deliver us from past hurts, from the now hurts, from future hurts, of everything in life. You see what I'm saying? Because everybody deals with things differently. and then match you with someone who is going to be able to carry the weight of your anointing, their anointing, the household, what God called them to do, their careers, all of these things. So please pay attention to these things because they are so important. I would tell you, so important when it comes to family, marriage, health, wealth, as a whole, our mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual well-being. So God being in the center of the center is the most important thing. And like I said, being that I'm still married, we're not divorced. It is kind of a lingo situation that I really do not, but I'm making the best of it as I can. I'm not dating. I was at one point. I wanted to remarry, but God is serious about these things. And I have to take it very seriously as well. And I can't just be saying, oh, I'm just going to come and do what I want. And then everyone coming around talking about, oh, they're my husband and they're going to change my life. And I'm already married. So how God sent you? I'm not even done with my situation. How God sent you. You drink, you smoke, you do all these things. Oh, but you're going to come and change my life and it's going to be for the better. How is that exactly? You see what I'm saying? So, and with myself, the self-esteem, I have to, have it enough to know what's for me, what's not. Knowing that God ain't send that. God, what I got is more than enough. What I'm dealing with, you see what I'm saying? And for people to want to come in, or for me to think that now is the time for me to seek and date and do all these things, it is not. It's really not. And I know that it's not. You see what I'm saying? Now, and then I have to stay that way even after we get our divorce, because it doesn't mean it's going to be a free-for-all then for me to be looking or trying to be with anybody then. So I'm kind of glad that I'm in this, state of where it's just me and God, where me and God are just going to thug this thing out and we're going to figure it out. And I'm not looking for anyone, looking to be with anyone or do all this extra right now. I'm just not. And I'm not supposed to be. You see what I'm saying? And God doesn't allow you to get into all these other things when you're not even finished with what you got right here. That has to be taken care of first before you move forward. And then he has to clean me up and whoever up. And it has to be all this other situations before there's going to be any type of love or I'm there and we Google out. Now, too old for it, number one. And number two, just ain't got that type of time. And God is already giving me and instilled in me the wisdom enough now to love myself enough to know that I can make it. I can be in this life, in this world, with or without a man, with or without whatever, because people will accept and take anything when they, don't love themselves, and they will deal with it and put up with it. And just to say they have a man, just to say they have somebody. And that's not what God wants for us. If you're going to do it wholeheartedly. If you're going to do anything, if you're going to be in it, be in it, be married, love each other, do what it takes. And if not, then don't waste somebody's time, money, energy, and effort, and don't send them to hell and have them curse behind it and because of it. So anyway, love you guys. I hope these are some really, like I said, good nuggets that I have given you about this topic, because it is just really, and sending, sleeping with other people, husbands and wives, bring curses upon yourself. You will, if you do get married, we reap what we sow. A lot of people love to do that type of stuff, especially people close to you, because I know I had it done to me. When they see you, happy, they want to disrupt. And we have to be mindful of those things and be prayed up, to prevent those type of things from happening, because everyone's not genuinely happy for you and your union. There's a lot of people out there that the devil put it in their mind. Oh, she don't need to be with him. And he looks too good for her. And she looks too good for him. And, whatever. Exes, nexes, now they want you back, like I said. Or family members and friends that want to come stay and want to come this and they ain't spoke to you in years. And they want to be all a part of your life all of a sudden. All of these exes, nexes, friends, whoever popping up out of nowhere, because now your life has been moving and growing, but you didn't see or hear from them in years. Now all of a sudden they all on your Facebook, on your page, you see what I'm saying? Be mindful, people. Be very mindful. Please do. And remember, the enemies of your house will be of your own household. The ones closest to you, your closest friends and family, will be the ones to do it to you first, that have y'all arguing, fussing, doing all kind of stuff. behind a lot. When you think about the single friends or the married friends or when you think about who did what and how it went, and if this one like that one, if that one don't like that one, if your family don't like your maid and all, just think about it. Or the children don't like him, and they think about all of those things first. Like I said, marriage is a ministry. It's work like everything else. And it's not just for you. It's not just for him. It's for God to get the glory out of it. It's for children to be birthed, for them to be loved, for to be fruitful, multiplied, to be dominion, all of these things. So when we look at these things, we must pay attention, and we must be looking more than what's on the outer. And, you know, God will protect you. Rejection sometimes is protection. Why? Because it would be the best thing for you for someone to reject you that is not going to do right by you anyway. So, and if God sees, hears, or knows conversations, whether it's with the family, the friends, your spouse, yourself, he will remove you. A job, he will remove you, or he will block it. And I've learned that that is the best thing, because he hears and sees conversations and knows about things you don't see, hear, and know about, because he's everywhere at the same time. And whenever God is in something, he covers and he protects whatever it is that he's involved in. That is the one thing about him. He will allow you to have certain things because you're going to have trials and tribulations. But he will block and he will protect and he will get you through it all. So like I said, be blessed. We are bruised and not broken. Christ came. We are his bride. He loves us. We're his children. He died. He raised again so that we can have life and have it more abundantly, even right here on earth as it is in heaven. Why? Because all of the promises are yea and amen. He gave us the original blueprint, our original life's plan before sin. And when we walk down that plan with him, we will find every blessing that was set aside for us as we walk with him to receive at a certain appointed time. This is why we miss things, because we go out and we don't follow the path God has for us, the original plan for our lives. And then the devil, he knows a lot about blessings and stuff and timings, and he looks into things to see. They said even when Jesus was being born, the Magi seen the star. This is where the witchcraft and sorcery come in, where they're watching you, your life, the destiny swaps, the stars, to see what's coming and what's coming. And this is where you get extra warfare. You don't even know what's going on yourself, but it's something shifting, and they know it in the spiritual realm before you get it here in the natural. And that's why they start to attack, or they'll send you a counterfeit. If God has a mate for you, you may have to wait a little longer for that mate, but guess what? The one that's going to come before that the devil sends, it might be the counterfeit, the one that's gift wrapped and all of that, and it ain't the one. Pay attention, please. You will thank me. Why? Because you can save yourself a lot of wasted time and energy. Okay, 10 years of going through nonsense, 13 years of nonsense. Some people there just to hold your life up so you don't move, so you don't progress. That is evil and it is demonic, and you must pay attention to your life. And I don't care who it is. It could be a sister, a brother, a sibling, a spouse, a child. When you see certain people came into your life and nothing but destruction, God sends you people, and so does the devil. Pay attention to who's who and what's what, and never confuse the two. Do not confuse the one that God sent, that God didn't send, for the one he did. Please, because we will make decisions like that and it will be catastrophic and devastating. And we can make mistakes, but how long does it take for us to fix it? And it's not us that's going to fix it. God, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord, though. And God can still use it and redeem it. But I'm just letting you know, firsthand. So be blessed, you guys. We're bruised and not broken. Love you. Later. Gotta go.